Welcome to Moto-Everything. Today, we're installing rear sets. Stay tuned and see how that's done. Here we go. That's right. Welcome to Moto-Everything. Today, you can see we're going to install these rear sets. Now, why are rear sets important? It's because of adjustability. You get a nice little ride with these, and it's going to be much comfortable when leaning your motorcycle. So let's see how that's done. Here you can see my foot positioning prior to installing these. And you can see we're leaned a little forward and we are aiming down towards the floor more on the before shot here. So that's what rear sets are going to do. They're going to adjust our footing position, and we're going to go ahead and install these. Now first we want to raise up our motorcycle. It just makes things much more comfortable. You don't really need a rear stand, but if you do have it, this helps out. The tools of choice, a 5mm and I believe a 6mm hex tool. Not a screw, hex tool, because last video I said screw. It's a hex tool, and it's going to be a 6mm, and I believe the other one is a 5mm, and that's literally it. Except for the linkage, you'll need a 10mm open style wrench. So let's go ahead and start taking things apart. Now these are aluminum, but they are a thick style aluminum. They're real lightweight, but they will hold the position that you put them in. So these are going to be a different set on each side. So make sure you know which is your left side and which is your right side. And let's go straight into this POV so you can see what we're doing. Now right here we're going to take off this linkage because it does come with a link extender for the shifter, and remember we just changed out the shifter, so we're going to make sure we take off just the necessary screws, which is these two here that go on this shifter back plate, and we're just going to make sure we take them out because we do not need to take anything else besides these two screws. So make sure you always refer to your owner's manual if you do not know what you're doing. You can see there we took out the bottom one. Now we're taking out the top one, and we're just pretty much left with the entire peg and that rear heel guard. And there you have it. You guys remember the heel guard install, but with every vibrating part on this motorcycle, you always want to use some Loctite. I use blue Loctite on pretty much everything. I don't go for the red because it's a little harder to take off, except for engine components. That's where you want to use the red. We're going to use some blue Loctite. We're going to lock these bolts right up, and everything's pretty much Allen tooled. So we're going to tighten them up. We're not going to super torque them. You just want to make sure they're tight and they're not going to come loose. This screw did go through, but it did not touch that swing arm. But if anything, I'll just chop it off, and that way I don't have to worry if it's going to snap on the swing arm or scratch it. But we're going to install the extender, and all you need is that 10mm. You want to tighten it to where it's comfortable for you. Make sure it's tight, and we're just going to put it right back where we took it out from and install that. Now we test it out. We want to make sure it shifts nicely, and it does actually. And this can be adjusted to your likings as far as the shifter pedal goes. So make sure you just adjust it however you'd like. And now moving on to the brake side, we are not taking off that brake master cylinder. We're actually just going to break these two bolts here, the top and the bottom. And as you can see, they are really tight because I've never loosened this side. So we're going to have to loosen it all up. It's going to move back a little, but we want to make sure that we're not going to pinch that brake line or that sensor for the light that sits right on top. So we want to make sure we just move everything slowly, so that way we're not ripping any wires or just messing up any hoses. So let's go ahead and do that right now. Now that these two bolts are loose, we can slowly adjust it towards the rear. You can see that the brake line is bending a little, but it's not kinking. And then we're gonna tug on these wires just ever so slightly. Make sure you're not ripping anything because this wire is short. But because we're only going about 25 millimeters to the rear, we don't have to pull it out the way too much. And once again, Loctite is our friend. Make sure any part that's vibrating, you always use Loctite. And red Loctite is for engine components because it's a lot more stress on them. So here we're just going to install the top and the bottom for that rear set because it does come with these screws. And then we're just going to install those pegs, ever so slightly moving it to the rear so that way we don't mess up any lines or any wires. And there you have it. We're done. We're actually done. So if you can see now, we've actually moved 25 millimeters to the rear, 13 millimeters top. So it's moved up about 13 millimeters. We did not kink that line, that brake line, and we did test the brakes to make sure everything was good. The sensor line or wires are actually tucked up real nice. And now it's time to take it off the stand and give it a ride. Now you can see on this before ride, we're gonna freeze it right here. You can see I'm angled more towards the asphalt than I would like. So here's the after, and you can see it points straight and parallel a little bit better, and it's not as downward as in the before. You can see both shots here, and it actually points a little parallel towards the shifter pedal. Now here, comparing my side profile, you can see on the before, it's actually pointing down towards the asphalt, very uncomfortable. You can still shift, but here's the after, and it's more parallel, more straighter, better pretty much for any riding style that you have. So that's it. We literally installed the rear sets on our Kawasaki Ninja 500, and I can tell you after 3 or 4 rides, it feels amazing. Now, if this helped you upgrade or install a modification on your motorcycle, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you like. Make sure you hit that bell notification. Make sure you share with your friends here. Moto-Everything, your channel for motorcycle everything. And I'm out, guys. See you guys later.